They say women are impossible to understand. That's not true, they're just never studied seriously. Most men think making a woman obsessed with them takes money, looks, or endless effort. So they try harder, text more, compliment more, chase harder. And in return, she pulls away, goes cold, becomes distant. No matter how much you give, it's never enough. Sound familiar? Here's what no one told you. Obsession isn't something you create by pleasing her. It's something you trigger quietly by understanding how her psychology really works. See, women respond not to what you say, but to what you signal. And most men are signaling weakness, even when they think they're showing love. If you've ever felt like you were almost there with a woman, like she was interested but never fully in, it's because you didn't flip the right emotional switches. The good news? It's not about being manipulative. It's about being aware. This video isn't about tricks. It's about control. You'll learn 7 psychological tactics that make women lean in, not pull back. These aren't gimmicks, they're raw dynamics rooted in what really moves female attraction. And once you see how it works, you'll never go back to chasing again. Let's get into it. Number 1. Praise what no one else sees. Most guys think compliments are the key, and they are just not the ones you're thinking of. Tell her she's beautiful. You're the 100th guy this week. Say she's sexy. Join the club, but compliment something no one else even notices. Now you've got her attention in a way she can't shake. Take Jake, 42, divorced, lives in Austin. He met Lauren, 39, at a mutual friend's get-together. She was stunning, sure, but Jake didn't go for the obvious. While every guy was laughing loud and showing off, he stayed grounded, present. And when he finally spoke, he said something that stopped her in her tracks. You have this calm that cuts through chaos. That's rare. He wasn't trying to impress. He was observing. And that compliment, it landed. Because it wasn't about her body, it was about her presence, her essence. Something no one else ever took the time to notice or had the awareness to see. That's the key. Women are used to being looked at. They're not used to being seen. And in a world where most men are desperate for her attention, the man who gives his attention with precision becomes the one she can't stop thinking about. You're not saying what others say louder. You're saying what no one else sees with calm certainty. That's power. And it sticks, because it speaks to something deeper in her. It touches the part of her that doesn't get validation, often the inner world she guards. Her Disziplin, her instincts, her resilience. Lauren told Jake weeks later, "You're the first guy who ever saw that part of me. I didn't even know it showed." That's what creates obsession. Not the compliments she expects, but the truth she didn't know was visible. And here's the secret. You can't fake this. You can't Google it. You have to be present. You have to watch her, not through the lens of desire, but from stillness, quiet, awareness. That's where Stoicism comes in. Marcus Aurelius said, "The ability to observe without being influenced by others is the mark of a free mind." You become unforgettable when you stop trying to impress and start noticing what matters. Most men operate from reaction. You, on the other hand, begin from awareness, and awareness is rare. Rare is addictive. This doesn't mean you analyze her like a project. It means you pay attention without needing anything back. You say what's true without expecting a reward. The best compliment isn't always the sweetest, it's the most real. So instead of complimenting her body next time, say something about the way she holds herself, her tone when she's serious, her ability to stay composed when others fold. That's the kind of praise that makes her feel exposed in the best way. Because now she's thinking, if he saw that, what else does he see? And that thought will live in her mind longer than any "you're gorgeous" ever will. Drop this in the comments. I notice real things. Stay right here. Because what happens when you pull away at the exact moment she starts getting close changes everything. Number 2. Pull away when she gets close. Here's where most men fall apart. She starts texting more. She laughs at your jokes. She says, "I miss you." And you think, "This is it. She likes me. I need to give more." So you do. You double text. You cancel plans to see her. You pour out attention like water, thinking that more of you equals more of her. But what happens? She pulls away. She goes quiet. She disappears. Why? Because intensity too early triggers fear, not hers, yours. See, when a woman starts opening up, it's easy to confuse progress with permanence. You feel close, but she's still figuring you out. And if you overinvest, you flip the polarity. You make her the prize. You chase. And the moment she feels you need her more than she needs you, the chemistry dies. Here's the shift. When she leans in, you lean back. Not out of games, out of strength. This doesn't mean you ghost her. It means you stay steady. You don't overreact. You don't reward breadcrumbs with fireworks. You show her that you're whole with or without her. Because a man who can withstand closeness without clinging is magnetic. Epictetus said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." Her affection is not your control. Her emotions are not your foundation. If she senses that your world spins faster just because she blinked in your direction, she loses trust. Not in you, in your strength. And strength is the currency of attraction. When she moves closer, it's not always because she's ready. Sometimes she's just checking, testing your stability, wanting to feel your center. You fail that test when you melt. You pass it when you remain, still, calm, certain, present. Not cold, not distant, just grounded. Here's what grounded looks like. She sends a flirty text. You smile, answer when you're ready, and don't chase. She hints she's free. You say you're booked today but would like to see her this weekend. She says, "I've been thinking about you." You say, "That's good to know." Not, "I've been thinking about you too, please don't stop liking me." Big difference. When she starts feeling something for you, she needs to know you don't disappear into her. That she's entering a frame, not becoming the frame. Because obsession doesn't come from certainty. It comes from tension, space, energy that isn't always predictable. And the moment she realizes you won't drop your world to orbit hers, she starts wondering what's in your world. That's when her curiosity turns into craving. You create that craving not by doing more, but by doing less at the right moment. So when she leans in, pause, breathe, hold your center, not to control her, but to keep your power, because a man who can walk away is a man she can't walk away from. Now tell me in the comments 4 words. I hold my frame. Don't even think about going anywhere. What comes next flips the emotional script she runs on, and most men never see it coming. Number 3, make her feel replaced without saying a word. There's one thing that gets under her skin more than silence, more than distance, more than any clever line you could ever say. The quiet feeling that you've moved on without her. But here's the twist. You don't actually have to move on, you just have to live like you're not stuck. Let's talk about Rob, 45, from Denver. He dated Sarah, 40, for 6 months. When things ended, he didn't beg, didn't text late at night, didn't leave doors open with, "I'll always care about you." He just disappeared. Not out of bitterness, out of clarity. Sarah saw his name pop up on LinkedIn. New job, new city, no drama. He wasn't flaunting, he wasn't chasing. He was simply doing better without her, and that hit her hard. Why? Because women don't fear being forgotten, they fear being replaceable. It wasn't about jealousy, it was about her emotional ego asking, was I not special? That's the hook. Now here's the Stoic part. You don't create this effect by playing games. You create it by rebuilding your life with purpose. You stop posting sad quotes. You start lifting. You reconnect with your values. You stop trying to get her attention, and that's when you get her attention. Marcus Aurelius wrote, The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. You don't mirror her silence, you rise above it. Rob wasn't trying to show Sarah he was better off. He just was. And that's the difference. You make her feel replaced, not by showing off someone new, but by showing up as someone new. It's the shift in energy, the confidence in your step, the way you walk into a room without scanning for her face. Here's the mistake most men make. They try to replace her too fast. They post new girls. They force moving on. But real power is silent. Real power is self-evident. When you stop orbiting her, she feels it. It shows up as curiosity, then confusion, then unease. Not because you hurt her, but because she suddenly realizes she's no longer the center. Rob didn't block Sarah. He didn't send a wish you well text. He didn't need closure. He just stopped anchoring his life to her mood. He started waking up early again, got back into martial arts, took a trip with his brother to Colorado Springs. Not to look happy, to be happy. That's what made it real. She checks your socials and there's no thirst, just quiet confidence, growth, a man in motion. That's when the regret sets in. She starts remembering things you did right. Not because she misses you, but because she realizes you're becoming the kind of man other women will notice. And trust me, she notices that first. So don't replace her with a person, replace her with progress. Get serious about your health. Get focused on your time. Get unavailable, not out of punishment, but out of purpose. She'll see it. She'll feel it. And it'll haunt her more than any text you could ever send. Drop this in the comments. I move in silence. You're going to want to hear what's next, because it's not what you say that pulls her in, it's what you withhold. Number 4. Act like you could leave anytime. Nothing creates obsession faster than knowing someone doesn't need you. Not in a cold, careless way, but in a grounded, stoic way where your presence is a gift, not a plea. See, most men think attachment equals commitment. But to a woman, a man who clings too tightly feels insecure, predictable, easy to control. And deep down, she doesn't want to control you. She wants to feel you could walk away and still choose to stay. That's what makes your presence powerful. When you act like you could leave at any time, it forces her to value your presence in real time. It triggers her mind to wonder, why isn't he chasing? What's keeping him calm? What would happen if he really did walk? And that's where the pull begins. Not from arrogance, from inner control. This is where most men mess it up. They confuse being emotionally available with being emotionally dependent. They reveal every thought, every plan, every feeling. And that strips away all the mystery, all the tension. You don't have to be distant, but you do have to be unpredictable. When she feels like she's got you locked down, the thrill disappears. When she's never quite sure what's next, she stays alert, and that alertness keeps her engaged. Remember what Epictetus said, "He who is not master of himself is not free." When you live like a man who could walk away, you are free, and that freedom is what makes you attractive. Don't announce it. Don't say, "I could leave any time." That ruins it. Just live it, quietly, naturally. You're not threatening to go. You're simply showing that you never lost yourself. And it's not about playing hard to get. It's about being hard to own. Most women have dealt with men who get clingy once they feel affection. Don't be that man. Be the one who makes her feel something deeper. He's here because he wants to be, not because he has to be. And that alone, that's addictive. She'll respect you more. She'll lean in harder. And ironically, she'll be the one afraid to lose you. Here's the hidden power behind this move. When a woman senses that your peace doesn't depend on her, she becomes hyper-aware of her place in your life. You don't have to say it. She just feels it in the way you take time to respond, in how you keep your plans, in the way you carry yourself like your life already has direction, with or without her. Your absence becomes a threat not because you're punishing her, but because your presence is rare. You didn't have to manipulate her, you just mastered yourself. That's why acting like you could leave any time doesn't push her away, it pulls her closer. Because women don't obsess over men they understand. They obsess over men they respect. And nothing commands more respect than quiet power. Seneca said, "He who is brave is free." Be brave enough to let her wonder. So let her feel your peace. Let her see your strength. Don't correct her assumptions. Let your life speak for you. If you're ready to become the kind of man who never has to prove his worth out loud, hit the join button and unlock our exclusive member-only videos. Inside, we break down the mindset, tactics, and Stoic strategies that put you back in control. No noise, just results. Drop this in the comments. I don't chase peace, I am peace. And whatever you do, don't go anywhere. What's coming next is the silence she'll never forget. Number 5. Keep her guessing on purpose. Let's get something straight. Mystery isn't manipulation, it's mastery. And when it comes to attraction, what she doesn't know about you is just as powerful as what she does. Women are wired to analyze, decode, connect dots. But when a man gives her nothing to decode, that's when she starts thinking about him non-stop. Let's talk about Justin, 52, recently divorced, lives in Chicago. He started casually seeing Amanda, 45. Nice dinners, good chemistry, fun conversations. But unlike every other guy she dated recently, Justin didn't overshare. He didn't send 10 texts a day. He wasn't cold, just composed. He wouldn't always answer right away. Sometimes he'd smile at her questions and just say, "You'll see." He didn't explain his whole past or dump his feelings into her lap. And that subtle restraint, it drove Amanda crazy in the best way. See, when a woman can't quite figure you out, she starts investing energy. That energy becomes emotional attachment, not because you're hiding, but because you're leading. This is where most guys blow it. They mistake honesty for emotional exposure, but there's strength in what you hold back. Marcus Aurelius said, "The more we value things outside our control, the less control we have." The same applies here. When you constantly explain yourself to win her comfort, you hand over the frame. You give her control, and once she has it, the dynamic changes. But when you stay grounded and let her feel uncertainty, she leans in. Here's what Justin did right. He was warm, present, and real, but he never made himself predictable, and predictability is the death of desire. He'd change plans last minute not to mess with her, but because life came first. He kept his routines. He didn't adjust his schedule to match hers. And slowly, Amanda stopped trying to lead because she trusted his. And that, for a woman who's used to being in charge, is addictive. She doesn't want a man who needs a map. She wants a man who is the map. So how do you keep her guessing without playing games? Keep a piece of yourself private. Delay gratification in conversation. Hold back your full story until she's earned it. Not to punish, but to protect your value. When she asks something personal, pause, smile, say, "That's a story for another time." It's not avoidance, it's presence. This works especially well with women in their 40 seconds and 50 seconds. By that stage, they've heard every line. What they haven't felt in a long time is real curiosity, genuine mystery. The kind that makes them replay your words after the call ends. That's what Justin triggered in Amanda. He didn't fake it, he paced it. He let her feel the suspense. Women don't obsess over what's obvious. They obsess over what's just out of reach. And once she starts guessing, she starts investing. So the next time you think sharing everything builds closeness, remember, too much clarity kills attraction. What builds tension is what's left unsaid. Drop this in the comments. I keep her wondering. Stick around, because what happens when she finally gets close and you pull back, that's a level she never saw coming. Number 6. Let other women prove your worth. There's something primal in every woman, the desire to win a man who's already being chosen. It's not just about attraction, it's about validation. If other women admire you, you must have value. If you stand alone, they wonder why. This isn't about chasing attention, it's about building quiet social proof. When you live your life in a way that naturally attracts female attention without needing it, women notice. Not just the one you're dating, all of them. And suddenly, your value isn't something you have to explain, it's something she can see. In dating, perception is everything. A man who moves through the world with ease, confidence, and female presence around him signals that he's wanted, not needy, desired, not desperate. Here's where most guys mess up. They try to convince a woman of their worth directly. They brag, they oversell, they talk about how loyal they are, how ambitious, how generous. But none of that sticks. Why? Because it's coming from you. When other women laugh at your jokes, lean in when you talk, or simply respect you, your current woman sees it. And it triggers something deep, competition. Suddenly, she's not evaluating you in a vacuum. She's evaluating you against other women's interest. And that's a powerful shift. Now, this doesn't mean you flirt recklessly or fake connections. It means you become the kind of man women naturally respond to, and you let that response do the talking. The Stoics had a word for this: arete, excellence of character. You don't chase praise, you build a life that earns it, quietly, consistently. Marcus Aurelius put it best: waste no more time arguing what a good man should be. Be one. When you embody that, you don't have to prove anything. Other people do it for you without knowing it. You hold doors, you stay composed, you lead with calm, you listen well, you don't dominate, you invite presence. That's how other women sense your energy and how the one you're with sees you through new eyes. This dynamic has another layer. When a woman knows she's not your only option, she steps into her best self. Not because you threaten her, but because she knows you've earned choice and you're still choosing her. That subtle pressure, it creates desire, and you never have to say it out loud. You just have to live like a man who has options but standards. Too many men become invisible in their relationships. They stop building outside connections. They disappear into one woman's world, and in doing so, they lose the edge that attracted her in the first place. Never lose that edge. Be social, be seen. Let female presence orbit you not as a tactic, but as a natural result of your energy. There's also a deeper reason this works, and it's tied to social validation. When others recognize your value, it bypasses logic and hits emotion. She may not even realize it, but her instincts take over. That man is wanted and worth wanting. The Stoic doesn't chase applause, he earns quiet respect. You become the man she knows other women notice but they can't have. Drop this in the comments. I attract without trying. Stick around. The next part flips the script and changes how she sees you completely. Number 7. Give attention, then disappear. There's a strange paradox in attraction. The more consistent your presence, the easier it is to take for granted. But when your presence is felt, then suddenly gone, it creates tension. And tension breeds obsession. Let me introduce you to Paul, 55, and Rachel, 49, both living in Austin. Paul had been casually seeing Rachel for a couple of months. He was attentive, kind, funny, engaging. He knew how to make her laugh, how to make her feel seen. But one weekend, he went silent. No explanation, no drama. Just quiet. At first, Rachel shrugged it off. Then she noticed herself checking her phone more, wondering, replaying their last conversation. That silence? It wasn't punishment, it was contrast. Men often fear backing off, thinking they'll lose the woman's interest. But here's the truth: attraction dies in comfort, and predictability is the most comfortable thing of all. You want to know how to make a woman think about you when you're not around? Don't always be around. Give her an experience, attention, presence, intimacy, and then disappear into your own life. Your hobbies, your mission, your solitude. This doesn't mean ghost her. It means live. It means don't make her your new center of gravity. Why does this work so well with women in their 40 seconds and 50 seconds? Because they're used to men either clinging or vanishing. The ones who can engage deeply, then pull back with purpose, they're rare. Paul didn't withdraw out of fear, he withdrew out of focus, and Rachel felt it, not as rejection, but as polarity. One day, he's sitting across the table from her, eyes locked, asking her real questions. 2 days later, he's unreachable on a hiking trip, off the grid, building something that had nothing to do with her. That imbalance of presence and absence creates a rhythm, and rhythm is what keeps the heart beating. In Stoicism, there's an idea of detachment, not indifference, but freedom. Epictetus said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. When you can give affection without needing anything back, and then step away without guilt, that's power." There's also a deeper reason this works, and it's tied to social validation. When others recognize your value, it bypasses logic and hits emotion. She may not even realize it, but her instincts take over. That man is wanted and worth wanting. Women aren't addicted to men. They're addicted to emotional cycles, the highs, the quiets, the returns. It's not about playing hot and cold. It's about respecting your own polarity, the push and the pull. A woman starts obsessing not when you flood her with validation, but when you leave emotional space, open space she wants to fill. And the only way to do that is to stop trying to fill it yourself. This is the Stoic mindset in motion. To act with intention, not desperation. To give without clinging, and to walk away without apology. When you disappear, don't explain. When you return, don't justify. Let your rhythm be your presence. Paul wasn't trying to manipulate Rachel. He was just living by design. Connection wasn't a full-time job. It was a moment fully present, then respectfully paused. And every time he disappeared, she felt it more. Because he wasn't trying to prove anything. He was just a man on his path. Drop this in the comments. I create space. Stay close, because what's next redefines what your silence really says. Number 8. Use silence as a reward. Most men use silence as punishment. When something goes wrong, they retreat, they go cold, they disappear to teach a lesson. But the Stoic man doesn't use silence to punish, he uses it to elevate. Silence, when delivered with intention, becomes a powerful signal, a reward, a form of presence that doesn't need noise. And in a world where everyone's always talking, always reacting, silence becomes addictive. Think about it. How often do you hear nothing from someone, but feel everything? That's the power we're talking about. When you respond with calm stillness instead of reactive words, you control the frame. You don't engage in drama. You don't bite on bait. You don't explain, overtalk, or defend. You let your energy speak instead. A woman who's used to emotional highs and lows, arguments and apologies, will feel your silence not as rejection, but as elevation. You're saying, "This isn't worth my energy, and I value myself too much to lower the signal." That's rare. That's attractive. Seneca wrote, "Speech is the mirror of the soul. As a man speaks, so is he." But sometimes, what you don't say reflects your soul even louder. When you offer your attention freely through conversation, warmth, validation, and then return to calm, measured quiet, that contrast trains her to associate your silence with peace, with power. It's not a withdrawal, it's an exhale. Most men are either too loud or too quiet. They speak to dominate, or they vanish to escape. But the Stoic man understands balance. He engages with clarity. Then he lets silence fill the room like gravity. This shifts the dynamic. She starts to see your silence not as distance, but as presence. A calm center she wants to return to. a refuge from the chaos. Because here's the truth, women don't want non-stop talking, they want emotional certainty. And nothing projects certainty more than silence that isn't afraid of itself. There's a reason powerful men pause before they speak. It makes every word heavier, it makes their presence linger, and women feel that weight. Especially when your silence follows a moment of connection, a compliment, a laugh, an insight. That gap, that pause, that's where the obsession forms. It's not about cutting her off. It's about giving her a chance to feel you without effort, to notice your absence as a reflection of your presence. There's another layer here. When you reward a woman with your stillness, when you're not trying to entertain, fix, or chase you, challenge her. You invite her into your pace, your tempo, and that's where polarity grows. You don't use silence to confuse. You use it to clarify. You're not avoiding the conversation, you're anchoring it in stillness, and that becomes irresistible. The Stoics teach this constantly. Marcus Aurelius reminds us, nowhere you can go is more peaceful, more free of interruptions than your own soul. When you can access that stillness, you become the source of it, and women don't just notice, they crave it. The man who can engage, then go still, is the one she can't stop thinking about. Drop this in the comments. I reward with silence. Hold tight. What's next shows you how to sharpen your presence without saying anything at all. Number 9. Break her emotional rhythm. Every woman has an emotional rhythm, a pattern of how she connects, reacts, and pulls away. And the truth is, once you fall into that rhythm, without realizing it, you're not leading anymore. You're following. The men she forgets are the ones who become predictable. Jake, 48, from Denver, didn't realize he was stuck in this rhythm until it was too late. He had been seeing Lauren, 44, for about 3 months. Every time she pulled away emotionally, Jake reached harder. Every time she got cold, he turned up the warmth. It became a pattern, one she subconsciously set, and one he followed without question. Until one day, he didn't. When Lauren went quiet for 2 days, instead of texting her again or asking if everything was okay, Jake posted a casual photo of himself laughing at a rooftop event, surrounded by friends. No explanation, no chase, just presence somewhere else. That moment broke the rhythm. Lauren was expecting the usual reaction. A follow-up message, a concerned emoji. Instead, she got uncertainty, and uncertainty creates emotional engagement. The biggest mistake men make is thinking consistency always leads to connection, but too much consistency, especially when it follows her mood, makes you emotionally invisible. She knows exactly what you'll do next, and if she can predict you, she can control you. When you break that rhythm, when you surprise her not with chaos but with calm, you reset the entire dynamic. This doesn't mean you become aloof or distant for no reason. It means you recognize when the emotional script is playing you, and you step out of it. Lauren didn't get the reaction she expected from Jake. She got space, she got contrast, and most importantly, she got curiosity. That's what made her reach back out. In Stoic philosophy, Marcus Aurelius said, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury." Think about that in the context of emotional dynamics. If she's being cold, don't return fire. If she's being distant, don't become needy. Do something she didn't expect, something strong, silent, and self-anchored. Women will often test a man's emotional frame without even realizing it. It's instinctual. It's their way of feeling where you stand. Are you grounded, or are you shaped by her temperature? When you break the rhythm, when you don't flinch, you send a powerful signal. I'm not inside your emotional loop. I've got my own rhythm. Or that rhythm, your rhythm, should be rooted in purpose, not her reactions. When she feels that you move to the beat of something deeper, she stops leading. She starts listening. Now, let's go deeper. Jake didn't stop texting to play games. He stopped because he realized his value doesn't require validation. And in doing so, He made Lauren question her own emotional script. Most men fear breaking rhythm because they think it'll create distance. In truth, it creates space. Space for her to feel, to think, to miss. And in that space, she starts to re-engage. It's like music, the pause between the notes makes the melody. Your silence, your unpredictability, your refusal to dance to her every tune, that's what makes her lean in. Women don't obsess over men who follow. They obsess over men who reframe, men who surprise not with big gestures, but with subtle defiance of pattern. Be the guy who makes her feel something different, not by force, but by stillness, by stepping back when she expects you to step forward, by holding your ground when she expects you to bend, by letting her wonder what you're thinking, not because you're playing hard to get, but because you're simply not playing. That's what broke Lauren's rhythm. That's what brought her back to Jake. And that's what makes the difference between being forgotten and being unforgettable. Drop this in the comments. I shift the rhythm. One more move, one final shift, and it changes everything. Number 10. Stay untouchable, no matter what. If there's one thing that separates the kind of man she obsesses over from the one she forgets, it's this: he is untouchable. Not physically, emotionally, spiritually, psychologically. He moves through life like nothing, and no one can shake him. And that energy? It's magnetic. But don't confuse untouchable with cold or arrogant. It's not about shutting people out. It's about building an internal world so solid that no drama, no rejection, no emotional chaos can break through your foundation. You become a mountain, not a leaf in the wind. In the world of Stoicism, this is called apatheia. It's not apathy in the modern sense. It's not indifference to life. It's peace, the unshakable kind. The kind that comes from knowing exactly who you are, what you value, and what you won't tolerate. Women are deeply drawn to this, because in a world full of emotionally erratic men, men who spiral at the first sign of disapproval or conflict, the man who holds his center becomes rare, and rare becomes desirable. So how do you become that man? You stop over-explaining yourself. You stop defending decisions that align with your values. You stop reacting to moods that don't belong to you. Instead, you observe. You stay present. You set boundaries calmly. You say no without guilt. You walk away without drama. You let her feel your absence when she stops valuing your presence. The untouchable man doesn't need to threaten. He doesn't need to raise his voice. His silence is his boundary. His standards are his shield. Even when he's in love, and yes, he does love, he never loses himself. That's the key. You can be emotionally available without being emotionally enslaved. You can be generous without being exploited. You can be kind without being weak. Staying untouchable is really about mastering your internal state. It's about being so aligned with your mission, your purpose, your code, that no woman, no situation can knock you off center. That's why when she throws tests your way, coldness, drama, pullbacks, she eventually stops. Because she realizes you're not her puppet, you're a force. And that's when obsession begins. When she knows you're capable of walking away at any time. Not because you don't care, but because you won't compromise your self-respect. That's what makes her lean in harder. That's what makes her want to earn your time, your attention, your energy. When you're untouchable, you stop chasing. You attract. You stop explaining. You embody. You stop reacting. You respond if you feel like it. David, 55, from Phoenix, was in a relationship with a woman who constantly tested him. She'd pull away, come back, flirt with uncertainty, and stir emotional tension just to see his reaction. But David never budged. He didn't argue, didn't beg, didn't retaliate. He kept showing up as the same calm, grounded man. One day, she tried to bait him again, dropped a comment about maybe needing space. David looked at her, smiled, and said, "Take all the space you need." Then he grabbed his keys and left for a 3-day solo hike. No passive aggression, no cold shoulder, just peace, just clarity. When he came back, she was different, quieter, more intentional, because now she knew he was real about his peace. And once she saw that, everything changed. This is the silent strength of the untouchable man. You don't perform strength, you become it. Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "Freedom is the only worthy goal in life. It is won by disregarding things that lie beyond our control." That's the essence here. You stay focused on what's within your thoughts, your discipline, your actions. Everything else, you release. Being untouchable doesn't mean you don't feel. It means you don't flinch. And in a world full of noise, your stillness becomes unforgettable. Stay that man. Stay untouchable. You've just seen how obsession isn't about luck, it's about strategy. Every move, every silence, every boundary you set shapes how she sees you. And more importantly, how she feels you, even when you're not around. If you apply even half of what we just covered, you'll stop chasing and start choosing. You'll stop hoping and start leading. And if you're serious about mastering this game, not just for her, but for yourself, I invite you to become a channel member. That's where the unfiltered strategies live. No fluff, no algorithm games, just real tools for men who want real results. Subscribe now if you haven't, and hit that join button if you're ready to play at a higher level. Thanks for watching. I'll see you tomorrow.